So I think we have done a few slides from this lecture. Let's go and revise it. So human skeleton, they are in anatomical position. And I will say this is the right skeleton. This is the left skeleton. And in anatomical position, palms are facing forward with the thumb lateral, little finger on the medial aspect. Okay, I believe you all remember the names of these bones, like humerus. Humerus, our umbilical. And in the forearm, we have two bones. On the lateral aspect, we call it radius. And on the medial aspect, we call it ulna. Same structure in our lower limb. Big femur, one and single big femur, and two bones in the leg. Bigger bone on the medial surface is tibia, and the small little bones on the lateral aspect is fibula. So it was easy for us, and we have studied this. And now we look at the pelvis, and we know that which pelvis is male pelvis and which pelvic is female pelvis. Because if we look at the angle, pelvic outlet, the male pelvis is more acute angle and female pelvis has wide angle. And if we look in the pelvic inlet as well, inlet means here where the baby start to come out. That's why we call it pelvic inlet. And male pelvic inlet is more heart-shaped, which we cannot see on these diagrams. But that is another way to differentiate male and female pelvis, because male pelvis outlet is narrow as well as inlet is narrow because it is a heart shape. Female pelvic inlet is wider. So these are the bony landmarks for the pelvis. We have been through this. The flat bone is called ilium, and the bone at the front around our pubis is called pubic rami. This is on top, so superior pubic rami and inferior pubic rami. If we follow the inferior pubic rami, we get to a bony bone, which we call ischium. If we are sitting, we sit on the ischium. In the ilium, this long, flat, running structure is called crest. And this little pointy is called anterior superior iliac spine, anterior inferior iliac spine, because it is in the anterior aspect. Superior and inferior is from on the ilium, therefore anterior superior iliac spine and anterior inferior iliac spine. There's femur, head of the femur, which is joining the acetabulum with the pelvis. Anything narrow down under the head is called neck. This is the neck of the femur, and this is the whole length of femur. Big bony notch on the lateral aspect, it is called greater trochanter. Small bony notch on the medial aspect, which we won't be able to feel, that is called lesser trochanter. So these are the revisions, and that's the ischium. This is the bony bone where we sit on, ischium, and that's the ilium. We can see the greater trochanter here. Now, if you go around the shoulder girdle, around the shoulder, we remember the clavicle, one here and one there. And we remember this flat bone, triangular bone, which is what we call scapula. Scapula. And scapula has 3 pointing bony notch. This is the coracoid. This is the glenoid, which articulate with the head of the humerus. And another bony point is called acromion. So let's go and look at a little bit more closely. So this is the coracoid process. This is the clavicle, acromion. Yeah, we cannot see the glenoid anymore because it is covering with the humerus. So now these are the structures: clavicle, scapula, acromion, glenoid, humeral head. So a joint is a structure between the glenoid and the humerus, glenohumeral joint. And this is our humerus. We saw the coracoid process, we know the glenoid process. And the sternum, which is our chest bone, in front of our chest in the midline. And these are the ribs. So I hope it is not too difficult. Now we are standing on the posterior aspect of the skeleton. And now we can see the posterior surface of the scapula, which has a big ridge, which is what we call spine of the scapula. Spine of the scapula extend anteriorly to form acromion, and we can see the glenoid from the back. Now this is purely posterior. We can see the left scapula, we can see the right scapula, spine of the scapula, dividing the scapula into upper suprascapular fossa and lower infrascapular fossa. The spine of the scapula pointing anteriorly, and that is called acromion. This is the humerus. And we know how to classify bone. Number one, according to their shape. So we can say, hey, long bone, which is very long. So humerus, radius and ulna, femur, tibia, fibula, these are really, really long bones. Short bones like small carpal bones in our wrist and small carpal bones, tarsal bones in our foot. An irregular bone, which is vertebra, which makes the spine, vertebra, and the flat bone, which is, let's say, sternum bone, or the skull bone. These are the flat bones. Of course, ilium will be the flat bone as well. So that's according to their shape. According to their microstructure, according to the way they are built, we can say spongy or compact. Spongy means it is very mushy, and compact means really, really thick, dense bone. Spongy or trabecular bone, compact, we can also call cortical bone. And we talk about the small bones in our wrist. This is the right wrist. We are looking from the front. We can see the distal radius, so lower end of the radius. We can see the distal ulna. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. These are the bones for the hand. Bones for the hand. They are called metacarpals. first, second, third, fourth, fifth metacarpals. And in between the radius ulna and the metacarpals, we have the carpal bones. There are 8 carpal bones, and they are arranged in 2 rows, 4 on the first row, another 4 on the second row. 4 on the first row and another 4 on the second row. So these are the carpal bones on the MRI scan. This is the end of the radius, this is the end of the ulna. First 4 bones, scaphoid, lunate, trichitrum, and P for pisiform, which is small and we cannot see it here. That is the proximal carpal row, and distal carpal row is trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. So that is second row. So these are the carpal bones in our wrist between metacarpal and the distal radius. So this mnemonic, she looks too proud, try to catch her. She stands from the scaphoid and it starts from the radius side. So the same thing in the foot. If you look at that here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These bones are called metatarsal, T-A-R-S-A-L. So the bones in the hand, these bones, they are called metacarpals, M-E-T-A-C-A-R-P-A-L-S. And here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metacarpals. Metatarsals plus the phalanges, like small little bones for the finger. So combination of metatarsal and distal to it with phalanges, that is what we call forefoot, F-O-R-E, F-O-O-D. So here in the back, we have the calcaneus, which is the heel bone, and we have the talus, that's a bone which sits in between 2. They are called hind foot, and anywhere in between, midfoot. And we have a few midfoot bones, which we have talked about, like the talus articulate with a bone called navicular boat shape. And here we have cuneiform, 3 cuneiform. So medial cuneiform, middle or intermediate cuneiform, and lateral cuneiform. And finally, we have a bone called cuboid. So quite a lot of names which you need to remember. And I don't expect you to know these straight away. But let's say at the end of the semester, I hope you will be able to appreciate, hey, this bone is from here. So navicular articulate with the talus, and 3 bones here, cuneiform, medial cuneiform, middle or intermediate cuneiform, and lateral cuneiform. And finally, on the most lateral, it is called cuboid. So it is not that difficult. So if we look at this foot from the side, so we can see the calcaneus, which is what we call the heel bone, and calcaneus. On top of calcaneus, we have the bone called talus. And now we can see the navicular, which is articulating with the talus. And we have these cuneiform, medial, middle, and lateral cuneiform with the cuboid bone like that. This is our right foot. We are looking from the right side of the body. So now you will become part of the team looking after this sort of injury. So we can see the talus here. We can see the talus here. And we can see the joint surface of the tibia, joint surface of the fibula, and we can see the tendons being ripped off. So now if we do an X-ray for the feet, right and left, we can see the metatarsal. So this is the big toe metatarsal, first metatarsal, second metatarsal, third metatarsal, fourth metatarsal, and fifth metatarsal. So this photograph X-ray is the same like this one. So I don't want you to get anxious just because you see this picture, because it is the same like this one. Yeah. Of course, one is the drawing diagram and the other one is X-ray. So we can see the medial cuneiform, middle or intermediate cuneiform, lateral cuneiform. We can see the forefoot. We can see part of the midfoot. So now looking at this one, so this X-ray is the same like this one. Cuboid, talus, tarsal bones, metatarsal bone. So now we can see the same thing, like talus, which is just underneath the tibia, and calcaneus, our heel bone, and we can see the navicular bone. This is the cuneiform. Yeah, this is the cuboid bone, and these are the cuneiform, and these are the metatarsal bones. So don't, I want you to compare the X-ray and the diagram. So this X-ray and this diagram is the same. It is the same. We have the calcaneus, we have the talus, we have navicular, cuneiform, and cuboid. So that is what we are going to see on this X-ray. Yeah. So now I will show you the other view. Again, on this view of the X-ray, we can see the metatarsal here. We can see the navicular here. We can see some cuneiform bones here. And this is the cuboid. And this is the calcaneus. Of course, that's the talus. So on this view of the foot, we can see nearly every bone in our foot. And these are the metatarsals, and you can see the small little phalanges here. So now if I show you this diagram, if I show you this X-ray, I want you to tell me which bone is broken. So the broken side has been shown with the arrow. So this is a broken clavicle, because you know that this is the glenohumeral joint, this is the humerus, this is the glenoid. You can see the coracoid process, you can see the clavicle, so that's a broken clavicle. So this X-ray and this diagram is the same, yeah? So it is the broken clavicle here. And that's the distal tibia, that's the distal fibula. And lower end of the fibula is called lateral malleolus. Medial aspect of the tibia is called medium malleolus. Lateral malleolus, medium malleolus, and the talus bone, which is C, sits in between two bones, medium and lateral malleolus. And that's the calcaneus. Of course, it is our heel bone. These are the easy bone on scapula, sternum, proximal humerus, and the clavicle. Okay, this is an easy one. And this is like a revision for us. Has anyone got any question about these? So the bone in the foot is such a name, you know, like we have to remember the bones in the wrist. Now we have to remember the bones in the feet. It's too much. Yes, one question. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So in that case, I will stop sharing this slide, and I will get another file. I'm going to pause the recording.